Welcome to Right Now, and this is our 11th episode.
You sure?
Yeah, because last time we said it was the 10th episode and it was a milestone episode.
Oh, I thought I checked and it was anyway.
It's either the 10th or the 11th episode, but today is July 9th, 2018 as we record this. We are your hosts, Valerie Ihsan,
Joanna Bartlett,
Totally done.
And we are at Tsunami Books in Eugene, Oregon. If you are wanting to be in our live studio someday.
You never know.
And today we're going to be talking about writing conferences, what the benefits are the extras worth it, and if you want to get the most out of it, how to do that. So we're going to do...
So check in. What did I do this week? Non-writing wise, we got rid of our trash service.
Oh.
So that's been something I've been working on. We're trying to go down to no waste. You might see the people with like the little jars, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, how do I do this with a bunch of dogs and kids? And so part of my week was like panicking of, I have to throw out as much as I can before I can't throw out anything else.
So use your trash service. So there's actually a slight writing related note. So Eugene writer James Aaron, I can't remember what he writes underneath, but do you know
S. Aaron?
Yeah,
right?
James S. Aaron, you know
Yes.
him, right?
Mhm.
So he posted a video on Facebook about a plastic shredder that he has basically got a paper shredder from a thrift store and hacked it, modified it, so it has a gaping hole in the front, so he can shred all his plastic now. So it was both fascinating and terrifying.
But why would you do that if we can't recycle plastic anyway?
Because it takes up so much less room in the garbage can. Because we have such tiny garbage cans that ours just in Eugene anyway, they get all filled up, and with all this like plastic we're sticking in it now, and there may be a potential for being able to like kind of melt down and recycle that plastic and use in your 3D printer. Nothing to do with writing, but
Yes,
it reminded me of that. So my check-in for the last week also has nothing to do with writing, because I was surviving a family reunion vacation of my husband's family, who I love. I
was just going to say, maybe that's better than our own family sometimes.
I actually do like all my in-laws. It was just exhausting because I cannot seem to help myself, and so I end up doing a lot of the shopping and the cooking, and you know, cooking for 20 is or 15 or 18, whatever, over 12, it doesn't really matter. So I did zero writing. I did some more planning, I think, and reading. So there you go. That was my week.
My week was a lot of consulting work, actually. It was really fun. I was talking to a lot of clients about editing or about business plans. So it was kind of fun. I kind of feel like that might be something I add to my author business, because so many people ask me about it. And
yeah, you know how to do it.
And yeah, and then this week I'm going to be on vacation. I'll be on vacation for about a month.
Darn.
I know, right?
So sad.
We're going to be camping the first week, and then I'm going to be going on my writing retreat, and that'll be 2.5-ish weeks. So I'm going to miss the next 4 of these videos. So please don't mourn my loss for the month.
Valerie will be back. We'll find other people to help entertain you, and she will come back.
Definitely. I think that's kind of it for my goals for this week are to get as much done possibly before I go camping on Wednesday. But I will be back. I know, right? I'll be back in time for Saturday, July 21st. I'm giving a workshop on marketing basics for authors. So if you want to be involved in that, it's 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. on Saturday the 21st. And it'll be at Willamette Adult Activity Center. So you can go to willamette.org and register for that.
That sounds cool.
Anything else you guys are wanting to plug coming up for July?
I just started a low carb diet, and I just miss carbs at the moment, so that's all I can think about is food. It's like, when do I get to eat next? What can I have for lunch?
Before our main topic, I was asked by someone who's getting to know me, you know, when people are getting to know you, and then they find out you're a writer, and they start asking you all these questions, and the main question was, why did you write a book? Or how did you write a book? How did you write a book? And I started giving this long story, and he's like, no, you're avoiding the question. Why did you write a book? So I thought
Is
that
it
would
why
be
or how?
how.
How?
How.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can keep whacking my knee.
So how did you write your first book?
How did I write my first book? My
Mhm.
very first book?
Mhm.
There was a lot of journaling first, and because
Okay.
it was a memoir, so there was a lot
Yeah.
of journaling that happened first, and then that became personal essays, and then, you know, I would change the essays to make them more, not marketable, but more readily available for readers.
Mhm.
You know, because when you first start writing, especially memoir,
Mm-hmm.
mostly it's cathartic, like bleh, on the page,
Right.
and nobody needs to read that because you're whining and you're complaining or you're whatever, and it's not really fit for public consumption, right? So you need to alter that. So yeah, that's kind of how I started with journaling. Then it switched to personal essays, and then I started compiling those essays into some sort of structure. I played with the structure like forever. My first book took 8 years to write. I played with that structure and redid the structure probably 5 times before I came up with the current
Right.
iteration. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well,
I mean, there's other ways to answer it, but that was my first gut reaction.
Because this person was asking me, you know, they're interested in writing a book.
Mhm.
So I guess the basis of that was like, well, how
How
did
start?
you actually do it? You know, get it from wanting to do it to getting it done.
Well, you have to decide if there is enough information there to be a book.
Yeah, and if you want to do it, and if you're willing to make a commitment to it and kind of stick to it. The first full-length book I wrote was also a memoir. It's not published, but I will work on that again one day and make it non-memoir so that it is fit for your public consumption. And you know, the how of it were I had just finished reading Cheryl Strayed's Wild while over my birthday while I was sick. I remember that. And then I was reading more about her, and there's something that struck me was that you know like it's time to tell your story when the pain of keeping it inside is greater than the pain of letting it out. Because for me, what I wrote was very painful. And so I kind of got to that point emotionally within myself that I went, okay, it's time to write this down. And it was a good timing, and I'd been laid off from my job 6 months before, had no idea what I was doing with my life. And so writing seemed like
The thing to do.
why not? Let's give that one a try. The business I had started was not taking off, and I realized I did not enjoy doing that work and did not want to do it anymore. Which was working with doing marketing communications for nonprofits, and I was like, nope, that's apparently not the thing I want to be doing with my life.
Not your calling.
And I had a treadmill desk, so I could walk while writing, and that helps me get unstuck emotionally. And I kind of had some goals of like getting so much written per day or per month or per whatever, and I had a time period for, I knew when the time period of the memoir, and so I just kept working towards it until I got all the words out.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I did it, was I made myself do it.
Yeah.
And I just kept reminding myself that it was more painful to keep it inside than to let it out.
Yeah. That's one thing I think is, because at Comic-Cons I'm approached with the same question, and the answer that I try to give is that you just have to sit down and do it. And people are like, but what do you mean? And I'm like, just sit down and do it. Like, you have to sit your butt there, and then you just have to work through it. And then sometimes I tell them, then you have to go back and you have to start it all over again and do that about, a couple times, depending on who you are.
I think what it comes down to is like anything else you decide to start in life, whether it's a low carb diet or going back to school or
play the guitar.
Anything that you say, okay, I want this thing enough for whatever internal motivation that you have. I want this thing enough that I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the changes in my life necessary to do it. And I'm going to figure out how to make it happen in my life and also make myself push past the discomfort that is going to come up because it's change, and change is difficult and uncomfortable, and
maybe even do the research that will allow you to know how to
Yeah.
do it, you know, what the steps are.
So last week, off camera, we should do it behind the scenes.
Oh.
Valerie was talking to me about her story that she's stuck on, right? And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's very important to share with you guys. Is there gets a point in your work where it's about the 75%,
darkest before the dawn.
and you're
We
like,
don't
this
like
sucks.
this
I'm gonna do a new
anymore.
project. I'm gonna, and you just have to write a sucky ending to get through that 75%.
Or
I
even
like
for
that
me, if you,
advice. Write a sucky
Write a
ending.
sucky ending.
I'm going to put that at a post-it note, actually, and I'm going to put it on my laptop. Write a sucky ending. That takes the pressure off, and then you can always edit. Editing is kind of where I'm better at it. You
well,
know?
and sometimes even when you give yourself just permission to write whatever, let whatever come out, it actually ends up being decent.
Yes.
And
definitely.
I found even it's that kind of like 75% mark that if you can get to 82%, then you're kind of back on the upswing, and then you get more momentum, and then you can finish the thing.
Yes. You're totally
that
right.
It's a short, painful period. It's like transition in childbirth. That's how I always explain it. It's that like period where you're like, nope, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm going to come back again tomorrow and try again, but I am done being in labor for today. Thank you.
On that note, we've gone a little
We're
bit
transitioning
over.
to the main topic.
Let's talk about our main topic.
That's funny. Okay, so writing conferences. What are the benefits of going to a writing conference? They're usually quite a pretty penny. So there's ways around that. You can obviously volunteer for the organization, and that will get you, depending on which organization, which conference you're going to, they have different perks for volunteering. And I think the one that we'll probably focus on the most is Willamette Writers, just because that's the one that we've all been to, and
it's
we know
coming
the
up,
most.
and you
it's
can
coming
go to it
up.
too.
That's right.
I've never been to one.
I will say actually that volunteering is a benefit as well, because the years that I volunteered for Willamette Writers, I've gotten a lot out of just the volunteer experience, both getting to know other writers and actually building that sense of community, because you're like stuck volunteering with these other people for several hours often, and so you have your communal misery depending on what you're volunteering. I was in the pitch room with all the agents. We'll talk about pitching in a minute, and somehow, because I have a loud voice and an English accent and they thought people would listen to me, that year at least it was a one more minute, ladies and gentlemen, one more minute. Like, you had to call out for the whole room so that everybody knew that their time was about to be up, and then you'd have to say, okay, time, ladies and gentlemen, time. And so I had to like do this for 4 hours for each of my volunteer periods, and so that was interesting. But it also totally demystified the pitching process for me, and the agents. The agents became like total human beings as I saw them endure person after person pitching, and got them, coffee and cookies, and just chatted to them if they didn't have anybody. Or it was great. It was like that was such a huge benefit. It took the fear out of pitching for me.
Other benefits are, a benefit that I always enjoyed was, it's in this particular writing conference that we're talking about, Willamette Writers, is in Portland, Oregon. And so being that I live in Springfield, don't get up to Portland very often. And so I see some of these writers only once a year.
Yeah.
So we would have this like cliquish little bar time.
Bar
that
time
was
is
a total
good time.
benefit. Yeah,
you don't have to drink. You can just go hang out at the bar.
Right.
And
But
chat with people, and it's nice.
Right. So networking is definitely one of the benefits of going to a writers conference. Being able to pitch to agents face to face rather than mail a query letter is definitely a benefit, and totally worth going to a conference just for that reason. But additionally, there's all the classes and the workshops, and there's education, and network. I've gotten jobs there before, editing jobs there before. Just knowing other agents and authors.
And it helps build that sense of community that
Uh-huh.
you don't feel alone. You feel like, oh, there's all these people. Like the first time I came to a Willamette Mid-Valley chapter of Willamette Writers meeting at Tsunami Books right here, where we are right now. And I saw you, and I recognized you from the school pickup line. Yeah, I was like, hey, I know her. And so we became friends. So that's a friendship formed from that, and that wasn't
Yes,
even a
that's true.
conference.
I
But it
found
was-
my first writers group at my first Willamette Writers meeting.
Yeah, but it was just that more than anything, it was that feeling of kinship, of finding my tribe.
Uh-huh.
Of like, these are people who get me. These are people who are into writing, into putting words down on the page, and who have that. I don't know. It was great to like-minded people just to find that tribe.
And it
Felt really
opens-
good to me.
Yeah, and it also opens up your eyes to all of the possibilities in the industry, in the publishing industry, in the writing industry. So maybe you go in there with an idea about what being a writer is or what a writer can do, and then you go to a class and your eyes just, whoa, I didn't realize I could do that. I never thought of that. And so all this opportunity and potential is now opened up that maybe
Yeah.
wasn't there before.
Yeah.
So I would say those are some of the main benefits of going to a conference. Can you think of any others?
Well, so I've been debating going to the Willamette Writers Conference
go.
for a while, but it's so expensive. I mean, you're looking at like almost $400 just for the ticket, and then you have to get a room,
And your food
and time. You
Well,
know.
food's included.
not all of them. Not all the meals.
See, that's one of the things that like I
I thought it
consider,
was
but then I realized they probably don't have anything that I can eat at them. So then, therefore, I'm paying for my own food anyway because I'm all organic and, all non-processed.
It's not bad. It's pretty
not bad.
fresh.
I do have to say that Willamette Writers, and especially the staff at the place that they're at, which I just blanked on the word.
Hilton's-
No,
no.
the airport, Sheraton.
Sheraton. That's
Sheraton,
it.
yeah, Portland Airport Sheraton
Different-
Hotel. The staff
Sorry.
there is amazing, and so they're really great about if they've got like a Friday nights. They usually have a reception, a welcome reception, and so it's just a big.
Is that
room.
worth it? Because that's an
free.
extra.
No, that's
So,
free.
right, I've seen that.
I didn't
So
think
the
they're
Friday
doing that one
event is
anymore.
free, but then you're paying an extra night for a hotel. So
No,
is it
if you're
worth it?
there, it's at the end of
Conference
Friday.
is Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yes.
The Friday doesn't really count though, right?
No,
it's a full day.
full day.
Is it?
This
Yeah,
year, it's full
totally.
day.
Okay, 'cause I
Thursday
thought it was
is-
only like
No,
4
that's
hours. or
Thursday.
something.
That's Thursday.
Okay.
And Sunday's the day you should skip if you're going to skip a day. I didn't say that.
But
So
anyway, I just
Okay.
wanted to say about the food. Any time that they have a buffet out or anything like that, you can just find. There's always somebody that's
Find
standing
someone
there,
working there.
and just ask them like, "Hey, I need a gluten-free meal or
Yeah.
something like that."
that's me. I say, hi, I'm your annoying gluten-free diner this evening.
Me too.
Can you tell me what I can eat, please?
Yeah. So,
And if
they're
they
very-
don't know, they
they're
will go find
accommodating.
out.
Okay, that's good. Good
Okay.
to know. So, getting the most out of them. You're
That's
spending
what-
all that money.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. Do you pick your classes ahead of time?
I
that you want
totally
to?
do. Yes.
I try to, just see what appeals to me ahead of time, because then, I'll rank them.
I have a system.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. Mine's just an asterisk system. It's not very sophisticated. It's like which one gets the most asterisks. That's the one I'll go to, unless I have something else scheduled during that time.
Mm-hmm.
I will say in terms of the cost, like if you volunteer, like for Willamette Writers, I don't know if they're still open for volunteers or not. It reduces your cost a lot. And then in terms of the hotel room, I've learned to share with someone. I find somebody that I like. We split the cost, and it's cool.
So, you have that element of pitching to the agents and
Mm-hmm.
traditional publishing, which it seems like it kind of supports a lot of. Have you found a lot of benefit for self-publishing? Because my thing is if I'm going to spend money on something, I'm typically going to, like, the past year that I could go to Willamette Writers, it was I'm giving up the same amount of time as I am doing a Comic-Con because it's a weekend and prep time and time away from kids. But it costs more usually. Not too much more, but it costs more than it does for me to do an event. And then where an event, I'm getting I'm getting new readers. I'm making money because I'm selling my product, and I'm connecting with other artists, which is neat. And depending on the Comic-Con, like Seattle, they sit you with all the writers, which it's nice to get to know the other writers, but then you're competing with like
all the other writers
everybody.
as opposed
So I don't like that setup. But so is it a benefit?
Is it a bigger benefit to go
Bigger
to a conference?
yeah.
Than
Am I going to get
Comic-Con?
more out other than like reading articles on online and things like that? Is it more the connection that
I found because I'm currently independently published, and and for the next year or so, I'm not even looking for an agent and traditional publishing deal. I've decided, and I last year I got a lot out of it. Last year, actually, I learned a lot about author marketing, and a lot of it being indie author marketing. Actually,
that's good.
I went to a lot of sessions on that, which were really good sessions. And then there's also sessions just about developing your own writing skills, like whether it's world building or character building or dialogue or editing or the whole story structure and all of that. It's not just about traditional publishing. There is some of that, and I think you can go, even if you don't want to pitch to agents, you can still get a lot out of it.
I think it's worth it to do at least once.
Okay.
So you can, probably twice, really. Because
Yeah,
the first year I
know.
went, I just observed. I just went and I went to all the classes. I didn't sign up for pitching or anything. I just wanted to
I did the whole thing.
Did you? The first year.
I volunteered. I went to classes. I pitched. I was exhausted. It was great. It's like I need to go to every single class, every session I can. Yeah.
But as far as some of the other things you said, like last year they had a table for so Barnes and Noble is the bookstore for Willamette Writers Conference. So you can't sell your books there unless Barnes and Noble already carries them on their shelf. But there was also last year, for the first time, another bookseller there that was I think it was just a Portland independent bookseller.
Blooms?
I don't think it was, no, it wasn't Annie Bloom's, it was Wallace Books, I think was the name of it. But you could bring your books to her and tell her what the prices were, and she would sell them, and just like a regular consignment table, and then she'd mail you a check.
And you didn't have to sit there.
And you didn't have to sit there, so she would be manning the table for you. I think the learning part of the conferences is so worth it. And here, even if you are indie published and you don't want to pay for the pitching to agents because you're not looking for an agent.
But that's pretty cheap, right?
No. So
Well, it depends.
It depends on it's $20 per agent. So if you are pitching to 5 agents, which is not abnormal, I think I did 9 one year or something.
God, I've only done 3 max, but
so it just depends on how many you're pitching.
as much as I could work myself up for.
$20 a pop. So, but they have several ways to practice your pitch for free ahead of time, and one of them is just the pitch help desk, and you just go up there and say, "Can I give you my pitch?" And they say, "Yeah," and then they'll kind of break it down for you, just one-on-one. They're just right there. And that's totally free, or you can do a Thursday night event, which is called Pitch for the Prize. You throw in $5 if you want to pitch.
And you pitch in front of everybody.
Yeah, with the microphone, and it's in front of a panel of agents. And it's in front of a panel of agents, and they deconstruct it and say, "Oh, you should not say that, or say this first, or I want to know about this thing," and whatever. And so they'll help you with the pitch. So even if you don't want to pitch to agents, I think it's worth it to do that anyway, because that is your elevator pitch. That is your sales copy for your book.
Yeah.
That is, that's the you need to know that anyway. Even if you're not going to say it to an agent, you need to say it to your reader.
Well, yeah. Which is what I learned at Comic-Cons. People would come up and be like, "What's your book about?" And I'm like, "Crap, this is my elevator pitch." So I was like, "Well, let me try out my pitches." And when my new one came out and I didn't have my elevator pitch down really good, I was just like, "Well, you're the first person to ask me since it came out, because it just came out. So I was like, I'm going to try it on you. And readers are like, that's cool. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
They're really pretty awesome about it. At the, what's it called? Pitch
for the prize.
Pitch for the
Pitch
prize.
for the prize.
There's only
Have you
time
seen
for-
anybody, an agent, actually be interested after they
Yes.
pitch?
all the time?
And I've read one of the books that have been published that I first heard the pitch for at Willamette Writer a couple years ago, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Heather Ransom's book, Going Green, I think.
I don't remember that.
I heard her pitch it. It was green-colored people. They eat chlorophyll, or they make chlorophyll from the sun. I don't remember now. It was a cool pitch. It got picked up by Not a Pipe Publishing, and came out last year or this year. I read it. I don't know. I read it and I left a review
Nice.
on Amazon.
Nice.
And so it does happen. And that's just one that I personally witnessed.
Yeah.
And
And I've gone to probably 7 or 8 conferences, maybe, and every time that happens, almost every
Right.
time.
yeah, there's at least one just it's good. It's just right, and it's good, and it's
And it happens to be the
right
market for
agent,
the agent.
and
yeah.
they're like, come talk to me about that
Yeah.
one later, because so it really, really does happen. So are the extras worth the cost? I'll lead it into that. So extras being the pitch for the prize, which at Willamette Writers is like $5, and pitching to agents, which
So,
is common
who
at
gets
many
the prize?
conferences.
The best pitch.
The pitch,
Okay.
yeah.
At
So
the
you,
end.
so you make
And you
money.
get the,
And
Or you could just go and listen.
Yeah, you can
That's
just go and
usually what
listen.
I would do.
yeah. And another extra can be manuscript reviews. And these, I think, are common to many conferences. I've also been to some of the Society for Children's Writers and Book Illustrators conferences for, kid and teen young adult books. And their longer conferences will also have manuscript reviews. Actually, even some of their one-day ones do. And sometimes agent pitches as well. And are they worth it? So I think they're worth it if you are ready to pitch to an agent, because you're actually looking for a literary agent for a traditional publishing deal, or if you have a manuscript that's ready to be reviewed and you're in that place where you really need feedback, whether it's about 5 pages or 50 pages or whatever the specific review is about. Sometimes they're there for synopsis, for your synopsis or various things like that. I think if you're in that place, it's worth it. It's worth paying to get good professional quality feedback on what you're putting out there, or to connect with agents. I think an important thing to point out about pitching agents in the pitch room, the agents are not getting paid for that.
Right.
It's not like they're making their living with your $20 pitch, which I didn't realize the first year. And I think somebody, educated me. So I think it's good to make sure that people know that, because they're not, it's the conference that's part of the money that the conference earns. It enables them to rent the hotel and pay for the food and all of that as well. The agents are doing it to find books that they want to read, that they want to represent, and meet new authors that they want to represent.
They're looking for the next best thing too.
They're doing it because it's their job, and also because of their own love of literature, their own love of books or movies, because there's also movie agents at the Willamette Writers Conference. Or movie, I don't know, producers, film, whatever, people.
Film
I don't know. I'm not in that world. I don't know the right words. And so, obviously if you can afford it, right? But I think if you're a writer, you need to treat your writing business like a business, or even if it's your hobby. I mean, people spend money on their hobbies quite willingly, right? If you're surfboarding, or I don't know,
Or knitting.
or
Yarn is super expensive.
How much did I just spend at the Black Sheep Gathering on roving to spin into yarn to knit things? It's worth investing in yourself and in whether it's a career or a hobby or whatever level you're at. Don't book 20 pitches, perhaps. Don't pitch literally every agent in the room. Read their bios. Find the one that represents your genre, whether, especially fiction, nonfiction, picture books, whatever,
I saw-
and then your specific genre. Don't pitch to agents that don't say that they want your stuff. You're
Right.
not going to make them
That'll
want
be
your
a
stuff.
waste of time and money.
Well, Willamette Writers now has, I don't know if they always have, but for their attending agents, they have a checklist of genres that they will take. So
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Only pitch to the ones that match what you have to pitch to them.
Yeah, this year they had one that covers my genre, and I was like, one. It's either yes or no, right?
Yeah, and give it a go. And I think, I don't know, I think it's worthwhile, at least within reason.
Yes. And in terms of extras, some conferences, you do need to pay extra for the food. So just read, what's included in your tuition price when you're choosing conferences. The Willamette Writers does include food currently, but a couple of years in a row they did not. They were trying different ways of doing it.
And another extra would be your hotel room. I
Yes.
suppose.
Yes.
But
Stay with
sharing.
a family member in the neighboring area.
You could do that, or I don't know what Airbnbs are available, or
Yeah.
something like that, maybe nearby, depending where your conference is, or share a room with 1 or 2 or 3 or however many people you feel comfortable packing into a hotel room, depending on who you are. So we need to wrap up. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Valerie already told you about her upcoming class on July 21st. And how would people find out more about that?
WillamelLane.org.
Please join.
Check your Amazon reviews, because you are probably losing some now. I've been at the same review for a while, and then it dropped, and I asked.
Don't worry about those.
And Amazon's doing another sweep.
Yeah. Don't worry about them. It happens.
Just keep going. So please join us next week on Monday, July 16th, either live on YouTube or here at Tsunami Books, where we will be talking about the financial costs of self-publishing.
And I'll miss that one. That's my favorite thing to
You
talk
should
about.
Leave us some notes.
Or you could also go to my new show, The Nitty Gritty of Self-Publishing.
There you go. And you can hear it directly from Valerie herself.
There's a link over here.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment. Leave a comment in the comment section below. We are
Valerie Ihsan.
Joanna Bartlett.
Julie Dawn.
And we will see you next Monday at 11:11. Now go
Right now.